How's it going, everybody? Rybrad here today, and I am here with 5 franchise mode tips for you guys to improve your franchise and to win more Stanley Cups. My first tip is don't worry so much about chemistry. Everybody's out there trying to get a +5 on every single line and trying to get the best chemistry they can. And what I've found from my experience is yes, it's great to have a +5 everywhere, but first and foremost, you just want to avoid negatives. What I'm saying is you don't fire your A coach because you aren't getting a +3 on the first line, or you're not even getting a +1. That B- coach may look great for chemistry, but the overall of your coach does matter too. Simply put, a 0 is fine as long as your players are first line forwards and your coach is high quality. My second tip is to pay attention mostly to offensive awareness, passing, defensive awareness, and shooting accuracy. While the overall number may look great, those can be boosted and not paint the whole picture about a lot of guys. Some guys have low overalls because they don't have a really good physical category. For example, last night on stream, I traded for Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is only an 85, but he's listed as a first-line forward. He may have been not the guy you would have thought I would have put between my Taylor Hall and Phil Kessel line, but you know what? He had great offensive awareness, great passing, his defensive awareness was fine, and he had a really good shooting accuracy. So I figured putting him on that first line wouldn't hurt at all, and he finished the season with about 70 points, but allowed both Hall and Kessel to do great things. I think they both finished with over point per game. What I'm saying is physical categories can boost overalls and lower overalls. You often can find better simming players with lower overalls, and they'll likely be cheaper to acquire compared to players with higher overalls, but worse ratings in the important simulation categories. Find those hidden gems, those guys that are overlooked because they're only an 84, but all of a sudden have 87 offensive awareness and 87 passing. Those guys are the kind of guys that you'll want for your second line. Those are the kind of guys that'll sim well for you. And if you're simming well, you're going to win more cups. Tip number 3 is to balance your team. Yes, I know myself and a bunch of my friends are guilty of this as well, not balancing the team. While it may be great to have 6 offensive defensemen in your lineup, you'll give up goals like crazy. Not only will chemistry really take a hit and often will it turn negative, but your performance will suffer because of it. Find a nice balance of D-men with good ratings in the important categories like passing, offensive awareness, and defensive awareness. Finally, for the first time, I found defensive defensemen aren't completely useless. In previous chells, they have been, but this year, they're not. I often find that my defensive defensemen finish with the best plus-minuses and really can help unlock your offensive defensemen. This same thing goes for forwards, ladies and gentlemen. Pay attention to defensive awareness specifically. A forward with great offensive awareness, passing and shooting, but poor defensive awareness will be a liability in your own zone. Find somebody that can balance them out. Don't sacrifice everything to do this. Don't get somebody with 87 defensive awareness but only 82 offensive awareness to play on your first line simply because you need a defensive player. But find those more balanced forwards. For example, don't expect a line with an average of an 82 defensive awareness to be great in its defensive zone. While offensive numbers may look flashy and sexy, the defensive zone is just as important. Finally, find players that complement their line mates' abilities. If you have a great goal scorer, find someone to pass them the puck and another player to do a bit of everything, maybe a defensive forward, maybe a physical forward. This will result in better point totals for your entire line, not just the goal scorer. You got to find somebody that can do a bit of everything, and if you've got a weak link defensively on the team, maybe find somebody to balance him out defensively so that he can utilize his offensive talents and really shine through. The fourth tip here is don't stress too much about your goalie. Goalies aren't going to be great no matter what. I feel it's completely random this year. I've had countless elite goalies perform terribly while the rest of my team just picked up the slack. Find someone who can put up good results. They don't have to have a fantastic overall. They just have to sim well. Usually around a 9.10 and a 2.6 goal against average. Find those guys and stick with them. They'll do the job. They're fine. They'll likely be cheaper than that 91 overall stud guy anyway, which leaves you with more cap space to balance the rest of your team. Finally, the fifth and final tip is just be patient. This one helped me a lot. If you're like me, you love to just move this guy here and that guy there and tinker with it and like, oh, maybe if I move this guy up because he's got a hot streak and this guy. Don't do that. Just leave it be. It'll all balance out in the end. Don't tinker with your lines every time you go on a 3 or 4 game losing streak. If you have a bad month, maybe then go ahead and check your stats. Halfway through the season, somebody's a huge minus on the second line. Well, they probably don't exactly fit your scheme, or they may just not be simming well. So find somebody that is simming well, or find somebody that maybe has overall attributes that kind of balance out. Like I said, if somebody's a huge minus, that line may need a defensive player if there's no defensive player. Or if your defensive player is not doing anything to contribute, maybe try and find a more balanced player there. There are times where you should be moving players around, like if your second line guy that you decide to give a shot is just a huge minus and the rest of your team's doing really well, putting up points plus, well, maybe he's in over his head. So go ahead, drop him down a line or two, give him some special teams time. If you've got a stud center and he's playing on the second line, maybe move him down to the second line if you can afford to, then put him on the second power play. That'll balance out his ice time a little bit, gives him some more points, and help his growth overall. It's better than having like a minus 22 season when the rest of your team are all pulling +6, +7, if you're a rebuilding team, for example. Finally, just have fun. It's a game. Enjoy it how you want to. Feel like the EA Voodoo has screwed you over? Move on. Try again next season. Shit happens. Teams lose all the time in the NHL. If you want to save, quit, and reload, that's fine too. You guys enjoy franchise mode how you want, but I hope these tips have helped you guys, and I hope you guys win a bunch of Stanley Cups because of it. So if you enjoyed this one and you think it's going to help you out, or it did help you out, leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one.